What is the most OP sword build for Lysithea in Fire Emblem 3 Hopes? Lysithea is a monster. She's a monster no matter what class you have her as. She's one of the very few unique characters that could really do anything. Which brings us to this build. I made her so OP as a Gremory last time you guys wanted to see her with a blade, and am I so glad that you did. I tested build after build after build until I finally broke her even more than last time, making her the most powerful character I ever built. The background footage is from the hardest mission in the game on maddening difficulty. The enemies on this map are 10 times more tanky than any other enemies you have fought elsewhere, so keep that in mind. I present to you Lysithea the Night Blade. So starting off with the weapon, if you want Lysithea to be stronger than her Gremory counterpart, there is only one choice. You need to use the Dark Creator Sword. Blutgang is useless because you can get that same effect that it offers in an ability, and as far as Thunderbrand giving you a cooldown reduction, it's nice, but it fails into comparison to the deadly damage of the Dark Creator Sword. This sword comes with an ability called Twin Crest Darkness. This causes attacks to hit twice. But did you know that this sword also hits twice when using combat skills, spells, or pretty much anything? I tested this on multiple characters in multiple different builds. The double hit applies to everything. This means that when you're using this one sword, your damage is doubled. Our accessory is Asclepius, same as before. We need that expert wizardry buff. For your battalion, I suggest you use cavalry, since I would say cavalry units are the most common in the endgame. Now for our spells, we're using Bolting and Hades. Let me explain why we're not using the fire elements really quick. Bolting works especially well with our unique ability Cursed Expulsion. When enemies go flying, they are hit with a darkness explosion, as well as lightning due to the status effect of bolting. This gives us a crazy amount of damage when we throw enemies away from us. Hades is around the same power as the advanced fire magic you could be using. It might be a little higher, but the real advantage comes from the darkness status effect called Spellbound. This makes units who are afflicted move slower, have reduced defense, resistance, and will not be able to prevent us from doing damage while they guard. On top of all this, Hades can inflict the fire element too. With all that being said, if you prefer other strong spells over the ones I have chosen, the build will not need to be altered, so you can use whatever you want if you're not a fan of these spells. Going through her uniques really quick, we have Cursed Expulsion, which creates darkness explosions when enemies are sent flying. We also have the ability to pull all afflicted enemies back towards us. Onslaught Power fills both our Awakening and Warrior gauges when activating crests. Swordfare boosts our crit chance, and Axe Buster increases damage done to axes by 95%. As for our abilities, as usual, I'll let you know how I unlocked them at the end of the video. Sword Prowess gives us a 30% damage boost for using a sword. Offensive Tactics gives us another 20% damage boost if our battalions are still active. Wild Abandon greatly increases our damage dealt, but also greatly increases damage received. Proficient Wit Strike makes all damage calculation use the magic stat. This ability is absolutely required if you're not running Gremory. Boost Critical increases our crit chance. Burst of Resolve boosts our Awakening gauge when we crit, which leads us to why we're using Mortal Savant. Battle Instinct fills both our Warrior and Awakening gauges until one of them is completely filled. Cyclical Specials temporarily increase Warrior gauge fill rate after initiating a Warrior special. Specials Master gives us a temporary crit chance boost when our Warrior special defeats 30 enemies or more, while Spirited Seas fills the Warrior gauge every time we seize a stronghold. Our main stats for Lysithea are Magic, Dex, and Speed, so to get the right amount of each stat we need to level her as 2 different classes. 40 levels of Trickster to get a major boost to our Dex and Speed, then 80 levels of Gremory to get a major boost to our Magic and a small boost to our Dex. If you have any leftover stat items, you want to max her Magic first, and then work on her Dex and Speed. Lysithea is one of the strongest characters in the game, and as such, this is a character I recommend spending all your stat items on. Our gameplay is a little more complicated than last time, but it's still pretty straightforward. We cast either Hades or Bolting, and after the enemies are knocked back, we chase as fast as we can and try to land a sword combo. Depending on the enemy, you'll already have a chance to critical rush. If you don't, either cast another spell or attack with another combo. Enemies on horseback should be one-shots with your spells, and even other units should be taking huge damage. On a normal map outside the one I'm demonstrating, everything except for the final enemy of the map should be a one-shot. And even then, same as the other builds, I like to spend all my warrior specials first and then awaken. By the time you run out of juice, you're gonna have 2 or 3 warrior specials, which you could then use again. Anytime you're not using a warrior special, you should be casting spells into combos. Now, as for our learned abilities, we get sword prowess from Myrmidon, Thief, and Mercenary, Offensive Tactics from Wyvern Rider, Wild Abandon from Brigand, Proficient Wit Strike from Mortal Savan, Boost Critical from Warlock, Burst of Resolve from Trickster, Battle Instincts from Bow Knight, Cyclical Specials and Specials Master are both from Dark Knight, Spirited Seas from Fighter, Hades from Gremory, and Bolting is taught by either Sothis or Constance. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more builds just like this.